Today we're going to be debunking the biggest myths about Whirlwind Barbarian. What are we talking about? Does attack speed and attack speed scaling work with Whirlwind? Yes. Despite what your favorite streamer says, the answer is yes. We're going to show you ahead, of course. Second thing is going to be, is close damage bugged for Whirlwind? No. Despite what your favorite streamer says, we are going to debunk that as well. Math does not lie. Let's get right into it. What up, team? It's MurderInc, and we are debunking the biggest misconceptions about Whirlwind. Why are they misconceptions? I have no idea. It took probably 5 minutes to theory craft this, but for some reason, other people didn't come to that conclusion. They started telling that to their audience, and their audience started berating me in the comments of my videos, saying, "Hey, Murder, you're wrong. I listened to specifically Rob, Al Kaiser, all of these people, they said it doesn't work this way, so they're right and you're wrong because they have all of these achievements in other games." The thing is, if you're a theory crafter, you know, never do things by yourself. It's really, really easy to make mistakes here. So am I blaming any of the creators? A little bit, but it's mostly the audience that kind of just takes whatever you say and says this is 100% fact. And if anyone says otherwise, they're wrong. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is, how do we test if Whirlwind has scaling with attack speed at all? Okay, so first of all, let's clarify. We're not talking about attack speed with the plus attack speed affix on gear. That is clearly probably not working based on the fact that it's on gores and it just doesn't do anything for you. However, if you look at a weapon, and I'm going to launch my game because for some reason I don't have a game currently launched at the moment. Alright, so here we are flying into Diablo 4. Let's hop on the Barbarian. Hopefully there's no Q or Q time. Perfect, we got right in. Famous last words? No, we're good, we're good. First capstone becomes available at World Tier 2. Thanks, Blizzard. Fantastic advice. Okay, so Whirlwind, as we can see at right below damage per second, 0.9 attacks per second. Next, we have one-handed weapons, 1.1 attacks per second fast weapon, and then finally the slashing, 1 attacks per second. Now, for some reason, people are saying this doesn't matter for Whirlwind at all, which means they've done zero testing or they don't know how to test properly. So, what did I do? I reached out to some people and said, hey, you guys want to test something for 5 minutes? They said, sure, even though we did a month ago, and we publicly posted all the results. So, what did we get? First, we have a one-hander. Let's do this here. We have the hit counter all set up. Okay, so this is a one-handed weapon using like white weapons here. Fighting Blood Bishop, level 95. Make sure we kill all of the ads so it's not skewing the data. And we have a real timer just in case people think we're speeding it up for some reason. That would be kind of cringe. And we can see the hit counter. So you kind of get the idea on how this was very simply done. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause at, we'll pause at 15 seconds, or as close to as we can get. 15:05. Okay, so we have 41 hits on a one-handed weapon at 15 seconds, 0.05. We're going to be real specific here. Now we're going to swap over to the two-handed version, and this is where I believe Beat Dropper showed the weapon he was using. Just to make sure it was in fact... All right, where does it go over it? Right here. So we were using white weapons. If you just want to go back here and look, you can see he has 4, a slashing, a bludgeon, and then two-handers. So we used the two-handers in the last video. We paused it at 15.05. We're going to do the same for this test. Okay, on the map, we have the stopwatch. Let's get it. We staggered him just in case this does anything to skew the results. It was waited until they got back up and they started performing. Hit counter has been gone. And the weird thing about this is, in game, there's a sound that happens when you hit the boss. So to not notice that the sound is faster with one hands. Okay, 15:05. So 34 hits with the two-hander in 15 seconds and 5 seconds, compared to 41 hits with the one-hander at 15:05. There it is. Debunked, no questions asked. If you don't believe the data in front of you, you think it's skewed in any ways, go in game, turn up your volume. This is important. Turn up your volume and listen to the animation noise that happens when you use a one-handed weapon or a two-handed bludgeon weapon. You will literally hear you're hitting the boss faster, even if the numbers are obscuring your vision. Alright, so that case closed there. Attack speed on your weapon does affect, beyond a reasonable doubt, the amount of hits you do and in total your overall damage. Now if you let this scale all the way up, the numbers get pretty crazy as far as the difference goes, but a month ago, like I said, all this data was published by BeatDropper, and this is kind of where I went along with going with that one-handed build for the Magnum Opus, but it's 0.25% more hits per cycle than the two-handed bludgeon weapon. So there you go. Now the second thing I want to talk about is close damage. For some reason, close damage has been said to not be working with Whirlwind, which is incorrect. It's not working as suppressor, and I'll talk about that after here. So we have the first video here. Let's go to this. It's showing 120, wait, what is it? 128.2% damage to close. So what does he do? He goes to the boss here, starts generating rage. He disappears. He makes him spawn here. Then he runs 2 screens away and starts channeling towards the boss. So if people are correct, he should be in the top right hand of the screen where it's screenshot and a snapshot from. So what do? We took all of the numbers we just saw there, which we'll go back to. No vulnerability, 26 to 40,000 damage. Vulnerability, 116 to 140. Now let's go to the second clip here, where he does the same exact thing, just to make sure we have the same stats here. Damage with close, 128.2. Identical. So now, what are we going to do? Instead of running far away, we're going to stand here and be close. And we're going to gather the same amount of data. Of course, it's going to be a variance in the crits you get, the non-crits you get, but you get the point here. All it takes is 2 seconds to test this out, by the way. Second video, no vulnerability, 26 to 38,000 damage. Huh. Pretty similar to the 26 and 40 when we didn't snapshot close. Vulnerability, 119 to 132. Vulnerability on top, 116 to 140. So, is close damage not working for Whirlwind? The answer is no. It works perfectly fine for Whirlwind. So then, you might be thinking, so what's the deal with Suppressor? Why does Suppressor affect the way you work? Why do you have to recast it? Because it's considering that you are a projectile. Why? Bad coding. If you notice, it's only the initial suppressor that you're hitting. What does that mean? If you've ever encountered a triple elite pack with 3 suppressors, once you move into the first one and start hitting it, you will do damage to any suppressed elite that runs into that circle because all of the code is shared. You can go and test this if you want in the next dungeon. It's just how it works. But as soon as you leave and then go back in, it does not work anymore. So that settles the case for that. Now, just to test one more thing, because I've also seen comments talking about Murder, why don't you take Warbinger? Why don't you take the Warbinger node on any of your characters? The answer is because it's only good. It's literally only good if you're pushing Nightmare Dungeons, probably like 95 and higher. If you're not and you're taking this, you're trolling. Why are you trolling? I mean, I've already shown the math on this, but let me just show you exactly why. So if you want to use this and say Murder was wrong the whole time, Numbing Wrath isn't that good. My streamer was right. That's totally fine. I will see you when you're peaking in Nightmare tier 60. So, if we go back to Beat Dropper, and I've already showed this, but I will show this one more time. Warbinger procs every 2 seconds at best, so it gives about 1200 fortify every 2 seconds. So if we think about the amount of health that I have, 11,000, how long is it going to take? How long is it going to take of continuous Fury spending? Then you compare it to something like Numbing Wrath. Numbing Wrath will give you 600 fortify if you overcap by 17 Fury a second, which you're going to pass that by a mile because Whirlwind one-shots mobs. If you're not one-shotting mobs, you're pushing, which is when you would take Warbinger and Numbing Wrath combined to make your 90 to 100 pushes make sense, right? And then there's the whole talk of, and I kind of did show this already, I had enhanced challenging and tactical challenging shout. Basically what people say is you're resetting your fortify because when it adds the base health, it's just clearing your board. But if you use it first, it doesn't matter. And if you're not using challenging shout first, again, you're probably peaking at Nightmare tier 60, so this point wouldn't even be relevant to you. So if you want the Fury gain, you want the most optimal way to build Fortify as fast as possible, you take Numbing Wrath. If you're pushing, you take Numbing Wrath and, where is it? Warbinger. But if you're just speed farming and you're taking Warbinger, you don't want to do this. If anything, if you really wanted to min-max this, I haven't tested this, but I'm fairly certain this is how it works. You could drop Numbing Wrath and add any other enchant here and just take the nodes on the tree that give you Fortify. So Warcry, 15% base Fortify as soon as you use it. Very good here. Why does this not conflict with Challenging Shout's Enhanced Challenging Shout? Because you're using it first. So if there's nothing to clear, there's nothing to clear. Next, you can also take Strategic Rallying Cry because once you get to a certain point, Fury is not an issue here. That's just kind of a side point here, because I did see quite a few people saying that in Rob's stream specifically, they were laughing at how I wasn't taking Warbinger at all. And I mean, hey, it is what it is. All I really want to point out is these are the people in my community that I'm working with, the people who are linking their Nightmare tier 100 with Whirlwind achievements for Nightmare dungeons being done. And then there's Twitch chat, so you can kind of weigh the opinion of both and see where that values you as a viewer or as a player. So that's going to conclude this video, kind of debunking everything we need to debunk here. And I mean, there's more, of course, like a lot of damage reduction, scaling. We went over Guttural Yell, or is it how it's the most OP source of damage? There's some, I guess, new talk that people, for some reason, didn't know about until now, about using exploiters and smiting to increase the duration of challenging shout, because challenging shout to taunt, so it connects to taunt, anything connected to taunt, which is the damage reduction. But if you have proper cooldown management and you're lowering your cooldowns enough, the downtime is going to be very small and you're kiting anyways. So I don't know, if you really want to waste 2 slots, where is it? 2 slots, one of them being a damage slot. I don't really see it, to be honest, but listen, it is what it is. I spent a lot of time putting these specific pieces on for this video just to talk about it for like 5 seconds, but it is what it is. So if you didn't know that, now you do. You can't see it here, obviously, but if you go into a dungeon, this will change to like damage reduction for 11 seconds, 12 seconds, which of course higher uptime, but you're going to actually overcap in your uptime. If you do a dungeon, if you have something like Disembowel, your cooldown will be up while the 100% DR will be up. So I don't know, it's really not worth it. You're not going to be struggling with dying, and for 99% of the players, if you have a survivability issue, it's not from challenging show. You have something within your gear that's not right. So that's going to conclude the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned some stuff and we kind of cleared the board with any misconceptions here. And I will see you on my next upload.